The sky was angry that day. Lightning tore through the clouds like shattered cracks in glass. And inside a quiet cabin, 45 people sat unaware that their plane was about to lose both engines and fall silent in the heart of the storm. This isn't a movie. This really happened. And the way it ended, no one could believe it. This is the story of TACA Flight 110, a flight that turned the impossible into history. It was the kind of flight most people don't remember. Short, smooth, and routine. The Boeing 737-300 sat on the runway at Belize International Airport, engines humming confidently as passengers settled into their seats. The weather was humid and heavy, as it often is in Central America, but skies were relatively clear at takeoff. The kind of day that doesn't raise questions in the cockpit or the cabin. As the jet lifted off and climbed into the sky, everything felt standard. Flight attendants moved down the aisle with calm efficiency. Children pointed out the window at puffy clouds passing below. Some travelers sipped soft drinks and thumbed through in-flight magazines. Others closed their eyes and let the rhythm of the engines lull them into rest. But what no one knew was that ahead, far ahead, near the US Gulf Coast, the weather was changing fast. A massive thunderstorm was building in the distance, fed by warm air from the Gulf and strong upper-level winds. As TACA Flight 110 soared north, there was no turbulence, no alarms, just quiet confidence in technology and routine. The aircraft was nearly brand new. The 737-300 model had recently entered service and was considered one of the safest, most efficient short-haul jets of the time. Passengers were in capable hands, but storms don't care about confidence. Roughly halfway into the flight, as the coast of Louisiana came into range, the crew received updates about deteriorating weather conditions near New Orleans. Heavy rainfall, high winds, lightning, the works. Still, this wasn't unusual. Commercial aircraft navigate through storms regularly. Pilots are trained, planes are equipped, and passengers, most of them remained unaware. Perhaps the plane jostled slightly in the wind. Maybe the sky outside looked a bit darker, but the thought of danger nowhere on anyone's mind. Until that moment when the plane began to tremble. Not just the bump, but a deep, growing vibration. Outside the windows, flashes of lightning began to streak across the sky. Thunder rumbled like distant artillery. The clouds thickened and suddenly the aircraft was swallowed whole. Passengers looked out but saw nothing. Just darkness, flashes and streaks of water on the windows. And then, in the cockpit, the first warning appeared. The flight had entered a towering storm giant, one of the most dangerous types of storm systems. Within minutes, turbulence increased. The cockpit windshield wipers slapped back and forth, struggling to keep up with sheets of rain and ice. Radar showed what looked like small patches of clear sky, holes in the storm. But they were deceptive. These holes were surrounded by areas of dense water vapor, updrafts and gales. Then, suddenly, both engines failed, one after the other, the roar of the jet engine gone. In the cabin, passengers noticed it first as an eerie silence. Just the hiss of air, no engine hum. The entire plane felt like it stopped flying. Lights flickered. Some went out completely. Emergency lights glowed faintly overhead. Flight attendants rushed to reassure passengers, but even they didn't know what had just happened. In the cockpit, alarms blared. The 737 had lost all thrust. The aircraft was still in the air, but now it was gliding. With both engines dead, the pilots had no generator power. Instruments began to fail. They switched to backup systems, but they were limited. Radio contact became spotty. Restart attempts failed. The storm had overwhelmed the engines with water and hail, causing a flameout that couldn't be undone in midair. The plane was descending fast, and they had no idea where they could land. The flight crew declared an emergency. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Air traffic control scrambled to help. Suggestions were made to divert to New Orleans International, but the jet was too low. It wouldn't make it. Visibility outside the cockpit was nearly zero. Rain pounded the aircraft. The windshield fogged. The pressure to act quickly was enormous. Every second counted. The pilots had to make a decision. Below them lay a swampy region dotted with power lines, lakes and marshes. The chance of finding a safe place to land a 737 in this kind of terrain? Slim. But then one of them spotted something. A levee, a narrow grassy embankment next to a canal, typically used for maintenance trucks and fishing access. Not a runway, not paved, no lights, no radio tower, no clearance. But it was straight, long enough. Maybe, just maybe, they would try to land there. With no engine power, the pilots had to descend in complete silence. Every control done manually, using backup hydraulics and sight. There was no automated assistance, no flaps, no air brakes. Landing gear was hand deployed. As the levee grew larger below them, tension in the cockpit and cabin reached its peak. Passengers braced, some cried, others clung to strangers. Flight attendants yelled brace positions. And then, touchdown! The aircraft hit the uneven grassy levee with a jolt. Mud sprayed. The tires bounced slightly but held. The plane skidded to a stop, intact, no fire, no crash, no injuries. Surprised passengers opened their eyes expecting wreckage, but found themselves alive and sitting upright. Outside, fishermen and maintenance workers ran toward the scene. There was a 737 sitting in a swamp. No one could believe it. Rescue teams arrived quickly. The aircraft was remarkably undamaged. Investigators later confirmed that both engines had ingested massive amounts of rain and hail, causing a complete flameout, an extremely rare scenario. But what made this flight legendary wasn't the engine failure. It was what the pilots did next. They saved everyone. Remarkably, the aircraft was repaired on site. After weeks of preparation and engineering, the same 737 took off from the same levee where it had landed, the only time a commercial airliner has ever done so. The story became legend, and to this day, the name TACA Flight 110 stands as a symbol of calm decision-making, sharp instincts and absolute control under unimaginable stress. In the silence of a powerless aircraft surrounded by lightning, you would expect fear and maybe even tragedy. But what happened instead was one of the greatest saves in aviation history. They didn't land on a runway. They didn't land in safety. But they landed together. And they walked out alive. TACA. Flight 110 didn't just defy gravity. It defied all odds.